Settings are a crucial part of Assassin's Creed, and in part why this series has done so well. There's not many games, if any, that allow you to explore some of the settings the series has given us. It's a popular thing to do in the community to talk about settings that you want to see, so today I thought I'd give it a go. I did a video about settings around 6 weeks ago, but this is a different thing to that. That was settings I think we'll see, these are 5 that I want to see. With there being so many possible settings, I'm surely going to have a different list to you, and it goes without saying this is just an opinion. With all that said, here's 5 settings I hope Assassin's Creed gives us. So number 5 on the list is one that was actually on my other settings list, and that's the Aztec Empire. A game set around this setting would have to take place during the 14th to 16th century, and the Aztec Empire was based in what is now Mexico, and I think it's a cool period as it's so different to basically everything we've seen before it. Aztec society was very barbaric, with blood sacrifices to their deity, as well as skinning, decapitation, and other ritualistic practices. Although to be fair, their history wasn't exactly written by impartial sources, so that may have been exaggerated just a little bit, and if it was, that would be cool to see explored. It's a period of conflict and violence, and that always lends itself well to Assassin's Creed. In fact, we already know that Giovanni Borgia was there, not Auditore, they are separate people. He was there and he was looking for the Crystal Skull. And with it being such a mystical and generally bizarre setting, there's so much that can be done with the Isu, Peace of Eden, that sort of thing, leaving the AC mark on the setting. If we actually did get to see the Aztec Empire, I don't think we should be an Aztec. As I said before, it was a very brutal culture, and it wouldn't really make sense for an assassin to be a part of that. But with that said, I think the Aztec Empire is a fairly interesting setting that could work well for AC. So the next spot on the list is quite a popular pick, but it's Persia. Persia is a great setting for Assassin's Creed, especially around the 11th century. I think Alamut particularly is the way to go for a game like this, because that's where Hassan Isibah, the man who found the Levantine Brotherhood, ran his own sovereign state of assassins. This would be really cool because we'd see more of the early days, or maybe even the inception of the Levantines, which, considering Valhalla is more than likely going to bridge the hidden ones to the Levantines, that'd be really cool. On the whole, I think Persia during this time is a great choice because it will bring back a lot of that feeling of the old AC. And by the old AC, I don't mean like Unity or Black Flag, I mean AC1, basically. It's a really interesting time period, but also one that's ripe with AC lore. If it didn't go the route of showing more of the inception of the Levantines, we could maybe get to see the Levantines spread. Maybe even get to see Hassan the Younger send Al-Mualim to Masyaf, that'd be a pretty cool connection. And in a time when Assassin's Creed has so little of its identity left, a Persian Assassin's Creed would be really cool. So number 3 on the list is the Mongolian Empire, which much like Persia is another setting that lends itself really well to AC. I'd set this game in the 13th or 14th century, as that's when Mongolia was at the peak of its cultural and historical significance, I suppose. If you didn't know, Kulan Gal, one of the assassins from the Sanctuary in AC2, worked with Altair and Darim to kill Genghis Khan in, of course, Mongolia. I think it'd be really cool to have Kulan Gal in the game, maybe not as a character we play as, but just a mentor or maybe something like that. For the 150 years or so the Empire lasted, there was a ton of conflict, as is to be expected with any empire, I suppose, but the assassins were heavily involved with it, as I mentioned before, and it'd be really cool to see that explored in a game of its own. Genghis Khan himself actually wielded the Sword of Eden, and presuming if we saw Mongolia, that'd be the way the game went with Genghis Khan, that'd be really cool. It's nice when AC gives us pieces of Eden that aren't the apple. As classic as the apple is, I just find the others more interesting, even if we have seen the sword before. In terms of the setting itself, I'd love to see more East Asian locations, but not just because it's different, there's cultural reasons too. Mongolian culture would allow for a really cool variety of weapons and outfits. We know Mongols use maces, scimitars and daggers as well, weapons we would have seen in a classic AC, so we could get a really cool combat system with those weapons, and one that isn't restrictive in the same way that Syndicate's combat system was. And those are just a few of the reasons I'd love to see an AC set in the Mongolian Empire. Now number 2 is one I'm sure you guys were expecting, that's ancient Rome. We have seen Rome before, but that was in the Renaissance, which is very different to what Rome looked like in ancient times. During antiquity, Rome thrived and was a powerhouse in terms of both control and culture, and the empire was one of the biggest the world has seen during its time. There's been far bigger empires now, but back then Rome was, as I say, a powerhouse. As an Assassin's Creed game, I also think ancient Rome would be great. As much as the AC lore has a huge involvement in ancient Rome, the most exciting thing for me would be the density of the city. A big part of AC has always been having these big, dense, imposing, sometimes cities that are fun to traverse, and we haven't seen one of those in years. Origins, Odyssey, and inevitably Valhalla are maps with cities, but they're few and far between in a world that's mostly mountainous, sea, or worst of all, just flat. The last game with a city that was actually fun to traverse was Unity, and it'd be great to see that again, as traversal, despite being a core pillar of the series, has been pushed to the back ever since Syndicate. In terms of AC type of stuff, obviously Ancient Rome was the main pick for a bike sequel, but I'm not really basing this list off sequels or anything like that, just how interesting they'd be as settings. With that said, there is a ton of lore here that could be explored, but personally I want to see more of Leonius. Leonius was an assassin from the Sanctuary in AC2, and we know virtually nothing about him despite the fact he assassinated Caligula, so it would be cool to see him explored a bit more. And that wouldn't rule out seeing Aya's Brotherhood, as the assassination of Caligula happened just a few years after Caesar's assassination. In fact, that actually happened before the Hinwants DLC. The only issue with the saying is that it's really close to Origins, which would make it a bit less interesting if it wasn't a sequel, I suppose. You could go right to the end of Ancient Rome, but that's still only about 150 years after Origins wraps up. Either way, I'd love to see Ancient Rome in an Assassin's Creed game. So the number one setting that I'd like to see from Assassin's Creed is the Dutch Golden Age. I know this is a setting that isn't talked about very much, but I think it really should be. I actually think the fact it's a lesser known setting would make it even more interesting. I love this setting for Assassin's Creed, like so much. If I was to make an Assassin's Creed game, I'd set it in Holland, Amsterdam specifically, during the Dutch Golden Age in the 16th to 17th century. I know it's a lot less likely to happen given the whole Patrice situation with his game, which I'm sure will be great, but I'd love to see an AC here nonetheless. And Ubisoft wanting the rights to that game probably means they wanted to do this, which is really annoying, but still I'd love to see this happen. The Dutch Golden Age is a setting that's dripping with culture. The country became known for its paintings, sculptures, architecture and literature. Amsterdam itself is again a really dense city that'd be great for parkour, but also really unique in how it looks, and it has a certain beauty to it, with a lot of canals too. In terms of story, AC hasn't touched the Netherlands. I've said other settings will be interesting because of lore significance. You don't have that here, but what you do have is a setting perfect for the series where you can create your own lore, brotherhood, whatever. That'd be interesting as well. A setting like this feels like where Assassin's Creed would have gone back in the day if the series didn't turn into a bunch of loosely connected historical adventures, and I'd love to see it. So that's it for today's video. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on settings you'd like to see. As I said in the intro, our lists are bound to differ. I hope you guys did enjoy this. If you did, maybe leave a like, and if you didn't, maybe let me know why. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time.